Hello everyone. This is Mohamed Sirajudeen, and I have totally 12 years of experience in IT industry. So I have started my career with .NET technologies from HCL, and from my second company onwards, I started working on the Sitecore. So my total years of experience in Sitecore is 9 years, and so I have been working with this particular technology for last 9 years, from the version of 6.5 and 7.2 and then 8.2. So 9, right now we have applications running in this 10.2 as well. So this is my history, and I'm currently working the company name CEI, India Private Limited, so as a tech lead. And so this is the session, the Sitecore Headless development. This is particularly, I'm going to show how this is working using Next.js. And this is the ultimate goal of this particular session. This session will be mostly the demo perspective, so it's less theoretical. And anyway, okay, before moving into the demo part, and we need to understand the basic things. So this is the today agenda. As you see, agenda is here, and before move to the headless CMS and what is headless, and we need to understand so what is a traditional CMS, and what was the drawback in the traditional CMS, and why the currently everyone is focusing on the this one headless CMS. And so let me okay, I'll turn on my camera for some interactive purpose. Yes. Okay. So we are going to see the pros and cons of headless CMS, and
we're not seeing your screen anymore.
Oh, okay. Is this fine?
Yeah.
And you're seeing me as well as the screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so this is the pros and cons of a headless CMS, and we are going to see what is a headless Sitecore headless services, and Sitecore headless using Next.js, and I'm going to show the demo part. And we'll move to the traditional CMS. So what is the traditional CMS? Okay, we have been working with this CMS part for last 15 years, close to 15 to 16 years. And this traditional CMS initially start with the tightly coupled front end and back end. And the CMS contains the content and the layouts. That the layout is tightly coupled with the front end, and whatever you have showing as a pages, that will be storing as a layout in the backend part, and you can, it is completely the template serving the data. So this is the monolith architecture, and so this will be the only delivering the content to the websites alone. And if you closely see that monolith architecture, only the connection to connection, the front end to back end, that means that will be enable only the websites. From the websites onwards, we have the separate option like smartphone change, and so we can see by using the developer tools, and we can see the smartphone how it is looking. So that is only the browser specific. As you see, the websites, we have the browser that is that will support only the website as well as the smartphone as well as the devices. Okay, this is the thing, that the content only delivering to the website is the problem. So currently, as you see, the headless CMS, why we are moving is, so what is head first of all? So before moving it to the headless, first we need to understand what is the head. So from the monolith architecture, what have been developed, so it is directly connecting to the backend to the front end, means the front end is the HTML. So that HTML is the tightly coupled with the backend. But here there is no head. That's why head is the HTML, HTML-less. So we don't have any head here. So it is disconnects the backend. Backend is separate. Here the front end is separate. So what the backend will do? So backend is content is created, managed, and stored in the backend. But in the front end, content is formatted, designed, and distributed. Here the two manpower. So for example, we have resources for the front end, we have the resources for the back end. So the back end people, what they will be focusing, So they will be only focusing on the backend side, and they will be closely working with the marketers, how the content would be, how the content is managing, how secure that content. So these complete focus with the backend people. But the front end people, so they will not care about this, what the backend having, because they have the separate end. Okay, they will be, content is formatted, they will be design the content, they will be distributed the content from, distributed the front end. So from the front end onwards, these will be designed. So in the backend, the content is created. So what is that? So there is a backend, there is a front end. So what is the connection here? So connection is, who is the middleware? Somewhere this backend is there, somewhere the front end is there. So what is the ultimate goal of this is API. So this particular head is converted as a API here. So previously that HTML is tightly coupled in the traditional CMS, but in the headless CMS, there is no HTML, but this API contains any format like JSON or XML. But currently we are, as a trend, okay, we are using the JSON for the performance as the data data flow. Okay, we are using the JSON. So the JSON is acting as a communicator here. So that communicator is in between. So that will be processing the data from the backend to the front end. So the marketers and so as you see here, marketer and the content team can manage the content in the backend. So developer and the designer can build the application. So these two parallel jobs will be happening in the headless CMS. So that's why everybody is focusing right now on the headless. Not only this is the reason. So as you see in the traditional CMS, if you want to do any beautification of the UI, anything, if you want to specifically work for the front end, you have to call the JavaScript developer or jQuery developer or any front end developer to beautify the things. But here, these developers, the front end developers and the back end developers, they work together, as well as we have the Jamstack architecture following here. That Jamstack architecture is nothing but we have React.js, AngularJS, and Vue.js, and currently the Next.js also into the picture. So these people will beautify the UI like anything. So for this beautification, this is the very easy method of going the process. So as you see, the difference between this headless and the traditional. So in the traditional manner, so we have the backend, we have the front end. So that will be tightly coupled. We have only one devices that could be the laptop. Maybe that is the smartphone. By using that websites only we can use it. See, this is tightly coupled. The traditional, the backend having the content, and the front end we have these devices. This is directly serving the data to this particular device only. This is tightly coupled finally. So in the headless, as you see, there is a headless in the sense, this is the data. So data is separate, but these are all the devices. In the digital platform, currently we have the n number of devices. Currently, as we see, we have a smartphone, we have the smartwatch, we have the Alexa, Bluetooth, we have n number of things coming into the picture. So this is the one API serving the data to the each and every channels. So this channel is categorizing here. So we can store these objects. Sorry, we can share these particular data through the API to the n number of channels. This is the headless now. And as you see, the advantage of the headless is we can reusable, because only one backend connection that can serve the data to the n number of channels, as well as the composability and maybe easy editing capabilities, because editor can edit the content and they can publish the content, and that would be easily working by following this particular API. The API will be the communicator, so that will take the recent data from the backend. And this is the flexibility and scaling also, and better security as well. These are all the headless CMS advantage. But the disadvantage is there. Wherever you go, okay, you see the applications, and wherever you go, you see the new features, there will be the disadvantage. Disadvantage is always there. Here you see we have the more labor intensive, because the front end people. So now here it is required. So the Jamstack architecture. So we have the React people, we need the Angular people, or we need the Vue.js people. So if these three are not there, okay, there is a Next.js, we need the Next.js people. So we need more labor intensive, as well as no preview for the marketers. For the traditional thing, even if it is a one channel, okay, the marketers having the preview. But here, okay, no preview for the marketers. Marketers can go and sell the product with some assumptions, so how it should be. So no preview for the marketers. So one of the disadvantages in the headless CMS, and the more advantages for the complex architectures. So some architecture would be very complex. Okay, that would be very the understanding the things would be really difficult. Okay, that would be the disadvantage for these headless CMS. Okay, there is the disadvantage, but the lot of advantages is there. So beautification of UI and the separation of the architecture and the connection through the API, that is the beautification, that is the advantage of this particular headless CMS. So this is the difference between the headless CMS and the traditional CMS. Now we will be having some idea why we are going to the headless CMS. And CMS, here we are using the Sitecore. The Sitecore, we know Sitecore is the topmost technology of the CMS world. So here we are using the Next.js. In this demo particularly, I'm going to show how this headless development is working through the Next.js. So as I told already, we have the front end. So here the front end application, we are using the Next.js, and we have the backend part that is managed everything. The content will be managed in the Sitecore. So now see, so currently, okay, you just think, guys, okay, if you have the application, but if you wanted to start with the Sitecore Headless, first of all, the Sitecore have provided the headless services, and that services, I have a reference. This is the reference. Okay, so here from the compatible version of the Sitecore, if our application is running in the 10.2 or if our application is running in the 10.3 or 10.1, the respective packages the Sitecore have provided. First of all, we need to download this package and go to our running Sitecore. I have the running Sitecore here. So this is my local Sitecore. Here you have to go the installation wizard and whatever the packages you downloaded, right? Okay. First of all, we need to upload these packages into the Sitecore. So once it is done, so I already done this because due to the time constraint, okay, I don't want to do these installation and all in the demo. So this one we have to do. Once we have done this, and we have to go and install our local application. So local application for this particular demo, I'm going to use the Next.js template. For this Next.js template, so we need to follow some action from the Sitecore and some process we need to follow to install that local JSS application. So this JSS application, I already have one LinkedIn article. So I just followed this. So because this is also the time consuming, okay, if we do here and it would take a lot of time. So that's why, first of all, we need to install. Before install, we need to check whether we have the Node.js in our system. And Node.js installation is not done yet in your system. First of all, we need to install the Node, and then we have to install this npm install. This is the Sitecore package, Sitecore JSS, Sitecore JSS CLI. I'm going to show this particular demo for the CLI, not the Docker. So once we install this, we can check JSS help -help. Okay, this will be providing whether your installation is successful or not. So this will give that information. And once you've done this, we have to choose the template. This is the time to choose the template. I'm going to use the Next.js template. Like Next.js, as we discussed earlier, we have the other templates as well, React, Angular, and Vue.js. And if you have the that particular resources, for example, if you have the Angular resource, you can choose the Angular. If you have the React.js, you have to choose the React. Okay, during the architecture kickoff, okay, you have to choose, okay, which one you are going to use, which one is going to impact your application. That is very important. So here I'm going to use the Next.js because we have some process is really good here, and I will show some features are really good. I will tell you what are the features. And here I'm going to npm init Sitecore JSS. This is the application name, and then Next.js is the template. Once you give this, so this will be asking you some questions here. So where you are going to create your application, and where you are like to create the application, which template you are going to use, what is the name of your app. Okay, this is very important. Okay, you have to give your app name and the Sitecore host name. Okay, I already have the Sitecore up and running here, so I have to take that Sitecore host name and I have to give this host name here. And these are the two things. How would you fetch the layout and dictionary data? So we have the two options. So one is the REST and second one is the GraphQL. So I'm going the basic REST over here, and second one is the pre-render method. How the application will be rendering. There are the two things. Server side rendering we have, static side generation we have, SSG, SSR. So SSR is it will hit the server, it will render after getting the data. So but SSG is the static side generation that would be rendering your data in the build time itself. So that is the difference of SSG and the SSR. In Next.js itself, we have the two properties that would use separately for SSR and the SSG. I will show that as well. Would you like to include any of initialization? This initialization is really important. This is a kind of a vanilla project and vanilla template. So we have to choose this because I'm going to use the disconnected mode as well. That's why I'm choosing this particular initializer. And then we have to choose one language apart from the English. Okay, this is the question. Okay, it will be asking during this Next.js template creation. And once you've done this, we can do and we can create the application. We can start our application by using the disconnect mode. First of all, we need to understand. So there are 3 to 4 modes. Okay, I can't say 3 modes. So in the headless JSS, okay, we have basically we have the 3 modes which is running. So one is a disconnected mode. Disconnected mode is front end is separate, backend is separate. That means okay, it doesn't require the Sitecore connected. So that's why it will work only the data from the front end application itself. So I will show you how this front end application is running in the disconnected mode by throwing that debug. And then so once you wanted to run this in the disconnected mode, we have to start our application JSS start. So the second mode is the connected mode. Connected mode, there should be the Sitecore up and running environment. So the Sitecore and the front end application both will be connected. So that's why this mode is called as a connected mode. And third one is the integrated mode. Integrated mode is not working over here. So that would be working in the server level when you push it to the when you deploy your application into the production. That time the integrated mode will be done. The integrated mode is nothing. We have the CM server. CM server, we have Sitecore is serving the data from the CM server. In the CM server itself, we have the Node.js application is deploying. In the Node engine also will be there in the CM server itself. So the Node engine will be rendering our Node application by getting the data from the CM server. So that is the integrated mode. We have the headless mode as well. Headless mode, we have the 2 different servers. CM server is separate, CD server is separate, and then we have the one particular separate Node.js node server. Node server itself having the Node.js application as well as the Node engine is running over there. So what it will do is it will fetch the data from the CD. So ultimately the CD will provide will get the data from the CM and it will provide the data to the Node server. So these are all the different mode we have. So I'm going to show the disconnected mode right now. So when I have the application in this C folder, Sitecore, new Next.js and Next.js. So I can open that as well. I will show the folder structure. C, Sitecore, new Next.js, Next.js. After following all the steps, my Next.js basic application has been created over here. So I just go to the Windows PowerShell and I redirecting to this particular folder, and I'm going to show JSS start. I'm trying to connect my application in the disconnected mode. So we may experience this particular thing. So many people may work on this particular part, but here is the understanding. So okay, understanding is the very important. Okay, how it is running. Okay, that is the one thing I am going to show. So after running, what we will usually do, we will directly go to the browser and we will see localhost 3000. Okay, it is running. Okay, this is how we know. So this is running. How this is running? See, this is very important. We have the scripts, and the script have the disconnected mode proxy TS. So you can go to your local application. So local application, we have the script folder, we have the disconnected mode proxy. This disconnected mode proxy is the initializer. So here it will come. So from here only the manifest updated. Manifest, what is manifest? What is updated over there? So we have to go, the manifest JSON file will be created. Let me check. When I go to the Sitecore, so here the manifest, here the Sitecore import JSON. So this date, so whenever you are running the disconnected mode, this JSON will be created. So this JSON, what it will be having, so this will be having a schema. So this schema is completely having what are all the placeholders, what are all the field names, what is the rendering name, what is the component name. So this JSON is working as a manifest JSON. So this JSON will be created. This is the kind of data provider for this disconnected proxy mode. And as you see, when we run this, see the disconnected layout service is initialization. So whenever you go JS start, this will be activated the disconnected mode. Disconnected mode means, okay, it will doesn't require the Sitecore. So that's why the initializer is disconnected layout service. So the manifest manager is watching for manifest source file. Manifest source file is nothing but this is the one. So this is completely watching this. And when you go, after this only we have to go the localhost 3000. So here the application is running, my local application, by using the disconnected mode. We'll wait for a minute. More time than expected. Okay. Okay, we will not wait for this. Okay. So it will go in the parallel. Okay, I will explain the things. Yeah, so whenever you connected to the disconnected, this localhost 3000 will just serve the data from the disconnected mode, right? Okay, from the disconnected mode, okay, it is where it is getting the data. We have the en.yml. This en.yml, we have a data. Yeah. It should. It is already watching this. Okay, what I'll do is, okay, I'll just reconnect this. something is happening, but I think it was working perfectly before this, but it is taking a lot of time. I don't know. Yeah. Now, yes. Now serving data. Okay. Sorry guys. Okay. Some technical. Yeah. So see. So it is running perfectly in the disconnected mode. So I have the debug enabled. So where the debug will be enabled, I will show that as well. You have the environment file. Here the environment file. So I just started this debug, Sitecore JSS and Sitecore JSS layout. So that's why I'm seeing, okay, what are all the data are debugging over here. So it is rendering. These placeholders, the JSS main, and these are all the UID. This is the item. So, and this is the component, and this is the component. See, the Siraj is the component. This is the Siraj component. And then we have the content block. This is the content block. So this is perfectly rendering. Okay, how this is rendering? So from here, you can go and see this en.yml, and I'm having. See, so here for the disconnected mode, I have defined the JSS main. I have a component, Siraj component, and I have a fields heading, title, and description. So where this component has been created, the component will be created by us through the scaffolding. I will show okay how to create it as well. So here this is the component, SRC components and Siraj components. So I have these data. So these data, okay, I have fields, heading, title, and description. And these data, this is the rendering content. Okay, these are all the rendering content. I have a field name, that a heading, and the title is a H1, and description is the paragraph. As you see, this is the title H1, and this is the paragraph, and this is the heading of the component. So these components have been integrated into the YML. So when you created the component, I will show, and I will create one sample component as well. So for creating the component, we have the JSS, scaffold, and your component name. Demo. When you run this, when you run this, you just closely watch. We have the demo SUG component.tsx file is also created, and the second file is demo SUG component.sitecore.ts file. So the sitecore.ts file is where that file is. This, we have the Sitecore folder, we have the definition, and we have the components. In the component, this is the Sitecore file. Sitecore file, what you'll be having? This manifest data contains the component, that component name, and what are all the fields it is using. So where the component has been created, the component will be created in the SRC here, the demo SUG component. In the component, we have the fields. If you want to have the more fields, okay, you have to add it over here. Like the next fields, like sorry, you can put it comma and copy, and I wanted maybe title. This is also single line text, no problem. I have two fields right now, and this particular demo SUG component serving the data here in our newly created component TSX file. So in the component TSX file, I'm going to use the same text. Here before that, okay, I need to mention the title. That is also string, not an issue. Okay, now this component is ready. Okay, if you wanted to add it in the same placeholder, then we can go to the en YML, the root item. Data rules. Here I can copy this. I need this one. Can add here, and we don't have a description. And we have the component name. Okay. Sorry, I need to run again. There is a start. I think I have missed some. Okay, so let's move on to the next one because so this is how we have to create. Okay, I will show you. Okay, what we have missed here, and so due to time constraint, okay, I will go to the next one immediately. So this is how it is working in the disconnected mode. Whenever you have the item, okay, you have to always look into this en.yml, and we have the component name here. This component name we have to actually give the data through the fields, and then okay it would work. And so these I already explained, this disconnected mode proxy will be always looking for that manifest JSON file creation. So this is the very important steps. Okay, we need to look it here. And the next part is JSS connected mode. So whenever you have the connected mode, as you see, this. So this is the second reference. Okay, if you have any doubts in the disconnected mode, okay, this will be working like this. I will share this particular part as well. And the third one, and the next one is the JSS connected. So for JSS connected mode, okay, it will be connecting through the Sitecore. So whenever you connected JSS, we have to give the space and the start connected. That means, okay, it will be always looking for the up and running Sitecore environment. So here the step is completely entirely different. So here, when you give the connector, okay, it will not look for the disconnected mode proxy, and it will not look for the manifest JSON file. It is always looking for the up and running Sitecore environment. Okay, so and also this will be also HTTP localhost 3000 for giving the differences in the content. I have not added the Siraj component in the Sitecore, so I have added only. I have added only the separate component, okay, for the difference. Okay, so whenever we go for the connected mode, the initial thing is what is the important part of this particular connection is the API key. So where the API key will be created, so we have to go to Sitecore, and we have the systems, and we have settings, and we have services, and we have to create one API key for our application. So how to create API key? We have to right click, insert, right click, and API key. So that would be creating one API key. So that API key we need to give it here. So during our connection mode, we have to give some setup. So that setup, it will be asking some questions. So for that setup, okay, we have to give the JSS setup. So when you give the JSS setup, okay, it will be asking for again a few questions. Is your Sitecore instance is up and running your system? Yes. And the path to the Sitecore folder. So whatever folder we have in my system, we have the C, inetpub, and www root, and this one dev local. This is my root path of the Sitecore project, and I am giving here. And then next is the import service URL. We need not give any URL, it will be auto-generated. We have to skip and we have to give. And this is the Sitecore API key. So this is I am talking about. So this Sitecore API key, we have to give this particular key. So I have the key already created in the Sitecore. So the key is this one, the item ID. So it starts from the E, it ended with the 8. See, I already given the E ended with 8. Okay, this is the API key and the deployment secret key. I will explain about this deployment secret key. Deployment secret key is just we have to skip and it will auto generated. So where it will be created once you give these particular things, so then there will be updated SCJSS config.json. This particular JSON in the Sitecore config, sorry, this one, SCJSS config. Okay, in this config, okay, we have the API key, we have the deployment secret. This key will be auto generated, auto created. So this key will be using as the deployment secret key in the both system, in the Sitecore as well as our local Next.js applications. Running very slow, I don't know, because of okay, this is already created. Sorry, some PowerShell issue. Okay, now it has been generated. See, now I have a connected. So in this connected mode, there is no Siraj application. Sorry, Siraj component. There is a different component, that is the header component I have added, and the footer component as well I have added. And this is the content component. Okay, these components have been generated and rendered. Okay, we are going to see how this is rendered. And now I have already created this API key, right? Okay, whenever you set up this, once the setup done, so you have to you will be having one. Okay, there will be two configuration file in the local Next.js application. That configuration file I was about to show. This is the configuration file will be created. In this configuration file, there will be the site definition. Okay, this is the site definition. So we have the site and the site name, and this is the host name, this is the root path, and this is the start item. Start item is my Sitecore home item, and database I'm pointing out right now is the master. So this and the deployment secret key, I told, right? Okay, that's the deployment secret key will be created, and this will be stored particularly in this config file. So these two configuration file has to be deployed in the Sitecore environment. For this deploy, so we have to give JSS deploy config. This particular text we have to give, and this command will run, and this command, what it will be doing, this copying the file from the local to the Sitecore. When you go to the Sitecore app config file and include z, and we have this JSS app config and the JSS app deployment secret config. So we may ask the question, okay, what this deployment secret option is, this key will be doing. This is kind of a JSS editing secret key. editing secret key in the sense, okay, we have the Sitecore. In the Sitecore, we know in the traditional Sitecore itself, we have the experience editor. So those experience editor, we wanted to edit the content. So here there is a two connections. So one is the back end, one is the front end. These connections, something has to be there, right? Okay, that rendering host, host has to be enabled in between. For enabling that rendering host, okay, we have to give that particular editing secret key. This editing secret key will be there in the two places, one in the local Next.js application and second in the Sitecore applications. These two key will be matching, and then only the experience editor will work. So I will show that. So where that editing secret key will be stored, and we have the environment file. I already show that. In the environment file, we have the JSS editing secret. So this is the one parameter, and we have to give this editing secret is nothing but this is the deployment secret key. See, this is a 4, start with 4 and end with 4. And we have here in the Sitecore. See, start with 4 and end with 4. This deployment secret key has to be matched. Okay, for example, if I remove this, what will happen in the sense, if I remove this, I go to the Sitecore. This is the home application. This is the home item. I am going to experience editor. I think this should be coming through the cache maybe. And I think somewhere this is coming from the cache. So if we are not giving this, okay, this will be giving the rendering host is not connected. So that particular error will come. So for this connection, okay, for this particular experience editor enable, we have this editing secret key as well as this key has to be matched with the Sitecore key. Sitecore we have app config and Sitecore, and here the JavaScript services. In the JavaScript services we have View Engine http.config. In the http.config, okay, we have enabled this JSS editing secret. This is the value. So this value have been enabled over here. This is the one configuration we need to do to enable the experience editor. Okay, so we have already created the API key, right? Okay, now I'm going to show okay how this is working in the connected mode. In the connected mode, okay, first of all, we have to create the template. So I have created the template for this my component, and okay, we have the data, we have the heading body, and likewise I have created one component. This is the header footer template. Okay, in the header footer template I have a heading and I have data. I have only the heading. The heading is the single line text. Once that is done, we have to go this renderings. In the renderings project, Sitecore JSS app, I have created two renderings. One rendering is for the header, okay, and one rendering for the footer. Okay, what rendering we are going to choose is, okay, we have to choose the JSON rendering. So in the JSON rendering, we have to right click and go to the JSON rendering, because this all the communication will be happening through the API. The API is a rendering as a JSON. So that's why we are choosing this rendering as a JSON rendering. So this will be having some good features. I show, and let me go to this page, renderings, and in the renderings we have header rendering. See, here there is an option layout service. In the layout service, as you see here, this is the renderings content resolver. So we have something we called ASP.NET Core SDK rendering, right? So these context, for example, if you wanted to resolve something in the context level, if you wanted to resolve something in the data source level, if you want to resolve something in the Sitecore forms level, in the sense, we can choose it here. We can override this particular thing in the override option of ASP.NET. We can override that particular class, and we can write some customization logic. So this will be happening through the rendering content resolver. This content resolver is important for the layout services. Here the layout service placeholder. Layout service placeholder is right now it is choosing as a default. That's why it is working for the main. So in the layout, I can show this project, this Sitecore JSS app, this Sitecore JSS app layout. Okay, this is the layout. I can go here and home and presentation details. If you see the presentation details, okay, Sitecore JSS app layout. This app layout is the parent layout for this particular thing. So this will be serving finally these renderings. These renderings are using the JSON rendering. JSON rendering having the layout service. Through the layout service, it will be serving the data. So that layout service data, we need to know. We already configured the main, and where we are configuring this header and footer. The header and footer, we have the separate placeholders. In the placeholder settings, project, Sitecore JSS app, as you see here, we have the JSS top header, we have the JSS bottom footer, and the JS, this is the main. The main is nothing but this is the JSS main app. This placeholder key is the important one for the placeholder. JSS main is the placeholder key, and here the JSS top header is the key for the header, and the footer, JSS bottom footer is the placeholder. So these placeholder have been created. These placeholder has to be mapped in the layout level. So where it has to be mapped? In the layout level, go to here and JSS app, Sitecore JSS app layout. In that app layout, we have the JSS app.cshtml. So this is dummy. So we have to give some views. So in the view, if you go to this particular view, JSS app.cshtml in the path, see, in the path, views, JSS app.cshtml. See what it will be there. See, this layout is intentionally empty. This is the dummy one. So layout rendering should be handled via your JSS app. So this is a dummy one. So this doesn't contain anything, any content, any HTML. So because the rendering will be taking place through the front-end applications. So that's why we have to give just a path, and then the layout service I told, right? Okay, the placeholder has to be mapped somewhere. Okay, here only we have to map. Otherwise, it will throw an error. So we have to map all the placeholder. For example, we have the main placeholder, we have JSS top header placeholder, we have the JSS bottom footer placeholder. These three placeholders, I have placed already the header component and the footer component. And the header and the footer, how to create the component means we already created the header rendering by using the JSON. And now it's a time to create the component, right? Okay, that create the component, we have to right click, we have to create the component by choosing the right template. I already created the HF template, right? By using that HF template, I have already created the header component. And likewise, we have to create the footer component as well. This is the footer component, the same template, because the content is same. If you have the different content, you can choose you can create the different template, and you can map different template by using, while creating, we can map the different templates for the header and the footer. Once you created this header and footer, And the placeholder settings also, you already have the placeholders. In the renderings, this is the component name. Header is the component name. I already created the header component, and likewise the footer. Once you created this, we already have all the components created in the Sitecore. It's a time to see how to create the same component in the front end. So for the same component, we have to go here and header TSX file we have to create. And footer TSX file we have to create. This component has to be created by, I already showed, right? Okay, how to create the component in the JS file, JSS scaffold, and then we can create the header component. JSS scaffold footer means, okay, it will create the footer component. So these two components will be created. Once it is created, if our application is running in the JSS connector, that will be connecting both the Sitecore and the front end. And then how it will be working through the layout service, right? So layout service, so this is the layout service. So layout service contains, see, Sitecore API layout render. This is the JSS you have to give, and then item. This is the item. You can give the item ID as well. You can give the path as well. And SC API key. This is the backbone. This API key is nothing but we have created one API key, right? Okay, we have to give this API key. This is the communication point. So it will be validating whether the API key is correct, whether it is perfectly matching with our API key created in the Sitecore. So once it is created, it will be providing the data for this particular item. So this item already have. This item is a home item. Home item, that means, okay, I give the default item. This is working as a home item is a parent item. So that's why it is coming as backward slash, and we have to give. And then in the home item, presentation details. Yeah, previous experience editor. If you go to the experience editor, see, this is the header component, and I have added, how I have added is, maybe I'll just show. Okay, when you add that particular in the layout, okay, when you add that header and footer, and header and footer will be coming as a placeholder over there. And see, likewise, okay, we have to add. For example, if I have this header component, and save. See, this is a header demo component, and this is a footer. Right now it is showing the footer component. So when I go and change this, it's a footer. This will. So when you, I will show one thing, okay, before closing. Yeah. Here you go to the, this is the Sitecore first approach, okay. I have created the article for this one as well. You can follow. So in the rendering, we have to give the data source from where, okay, this component has been created, from the where the data will be taking it. So here in our rendering, layouts, renderings, project. In the data source, I have given that HF template. So from here only it is taking, and for footer as well, it will be taking over from here. So this has to be given as the data source. Okay. And then when you actually when you created the component in the Sitecore, if you try to run the application, okay, for example, I already created the header and the footer component in the backend and the front end. For example, if you have created the component only in the Sitecore, if you haven't created the same component in the front end in the sense, it will show, because JS's component missing in the React implementation. That means React is nothing but the Next.js. Next.js, I already told, right? Next.js is the one which is built on top of the React. So React implementation. React.js is the base for the Next.js as well. So Next.js has some good features like route control, and the pagination. So this is how it is working. So that's why this will be saying that, okay, your component is missing in the React implementation. Immediately we have to go and create the component in the front end. Then this component will be mapping once you compile. So this is how it is working in the connected mode as well. In the connected mode, this is my last show, and I will show that how it is working. Maybe. This is one documentation which is giving really how this Next.js is working. So as our application is this one, localhost 3000, and then you have a route. For example, I am currently showing only through the home. So tomorrow you can create the n number of pages, right? Okay, you can create the other pages as well. So that will be considered as a route. So that route will be coming to the Next.js route. Next.js, where this route, this pages and path.tsx. This path.tsx. Here it will come. Okay, in this data, it will be taking only the context. The context contains the what is the path. The path is, the initial path is foo, the second path is a bar. So it will be taking these two paths, and it will be going to the page props factory. So in the page props factory, it will be going to the Sitecore page props factory. This will be creating the context for this. So in this context, I already told, right, there are the two pre-render method. In these two pre-render method, we have get server side props context, get static props context. Server side props context is nothing but it will be using for the SSR. Get static props context is using for the SSG, because Next.js is using these two pre-render methods. One is the server side rendering, and second one is the static side generation. So accordingly, what prefetch method we are using is, if we use the SSR, it will be using this particular context. If we use the SSG, it will be using this particular context. Okay, so once you get it, from here only fetch layout data will be there. Here, where the fetch layout data, and page props factory, here we have to go in this. Let me library page props factory. There is a three mode actually. One is the component props TS, and second one is the normal mode, and third one is the preview mode. So this is the normal mode. Normal mode is nothing but the page rendering. Preview mode for the experience editor rendering. Component mode for the specific component rendering. So this normal mode for the page rendering in the page. So this is dictionary services dot fetch dictionary data. So likewise, we have the fetch layout data as well. Yes, this is the fetch layout data. This is the layout service fetching the data from here. So nothing but this is from behind the scene, it will be calling the Sitecore API layout render JS, whatever I show right here. Sitecore API layout render JS, this will be calling this particular thing. And we have the other options as well, GraphQL. So this is not the demo to show the GraphQL as well. So GraphQL as well, we have a separate API, graph, UI, edge. Okay, so the edge will be taking part of the particular GraphQL. And then we can give the item and the SC API key, then GraphQL as well. The GraphQL and the layout service, there is a huge difference, because if you want to specific data and specific object from the services, you can use the GraphQL. That is working really well for the performance wise. And the layout services give all the data, context data, layout service, layout data, and placeholder data. Every data will be there in the layout services. From the layout services, it will be again going to the props. This layout data will be rendering to the page. This is how the Next.js page routing and rendering is happening. So my ultimate goal is, okay, we should understand how this is working from the backend side. Okay, we know, okay, it will be render. If you go and put the localhost 3000, it will be rendering. When it is, even if it is a disconnected or connected body, it will work. So, but we need to understand how this is working. So when it is connected, disconnected, then the disconnected proxy mode will be calling. From there, manifest JSON will be created. From there, it will be working. The root is the en.yml. In the connected mode, when it connects, it will be working Next.js routing config. From the routing config, it will be going to the page props factory. From the page props factory, it will be using SSG or SSR, and then it will fetch the data, layout service data from the service of the layout service or GraphQL services. This is how it is working in the Next.js. I believe, okay, this will give some basic and architectural idea how it is working. So that's it.